Welcome to the spoiler review for Captain America Brave New World. I'm going to be quick and brief on some of the things because I really want you to go see the movie yourself and not get a full breakdown of the entire movie. I just want you to look at the movie and just wanted to talk about some things that I really like. So this is your warning. This is a spoiler review. This starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, so let's start off with what I want to speak about in this movie that I couldn't speak about because it would have been a spoiler. For instance, I really love the tie-ins to The Incredible Hulk, which is a very underrated movie, and to the Eternals. I don't think no reviewer is going to talk about that. This movie ties into the Eternals, and it's not like a secret because Tiamat is showed throughout the trailers and everything. But yes, they finally hatch on that whole plot that happened with the Celestial coming out of the Earth and not fully forming and destroying the Earth, but yet is made out of a special element known as animanium, which is supposed to be on par with vibranium, which you don't really get a feel of outside of disposition and monologuing in the beginning by Ross at the White House. So you kind of get an idea of this new element and what it's supposed to do, but you never get to really see it in action, which I wish they would have did in the movie so we understand just how powerful it is next to vibranium that we've gotten so much view of with Wakanda, and even with Sam Wilson using it primarily in his wings throughout his fight scenes in the movie. But yeah, they book in that point and kind of set up the fact that this is made fully out of animanium and the whole world wants it, so we have to make a peace treaty between all the countries to determine who can mine there, who can be who can go in there, all that type of stuff. And that is like Ross's like number one thing. He wants to clear the record, sponge all the bad stuff that he did, because throughout this movie they really set up people do not like Ross. People still think about him for what happened in the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie, not so much what happened with Civil War and the Accords, but then again, I don't think a lot of people know that he was behind that, and if they do, I guess they really didn't care about that. But what they really care about and truly care about is what happened in that Incredible Hulk movie, which, like I said before in my review, Captain America Brave New World is a Incredible Hulk sequel, and you can look at it one or two ways. You can take that as a bad thing, you can take it as a good thing. I think it's a good bookend to the Incredible Hulk series, and once again, the story works so well that you don't really need Hulk in the movie, but it's good enough that it kind of clears the air and kind of gives a good send-off to some of the Hulk characters, because we're just never going to get a Hulk movie, and if we do, it's not going to be the Incredible Hulk that we really dream of and want, because the where they're going in the direction with the Hulk is kind of messy, and some of that is because of behind the scenes stuff, and some of that is just stuff they've written into the MCU alone. So I thought that was a good bookend to the Incredible Hulk storyline. They can continue more, obviously they will, but for those characters like Ross and Betty and even the leader, which I was happy they finally brought him back in some way, shape, or form, this was a good bookend to their characters and where things move forward from there. Because let's be honest, especially with that post-credit scene that showed the leader speaking to Sam about what the pending doom that's soon to come, I don't think we're going to see a lot of these side characters anymore. I think this was their last point in the MCU, and I think the next time we even see Ross, Betty, or even the leader will be in the new version of the MCU that will be soon to come. Outside of that, other things I liked about the movie that I wanted to talk about was the emotional standpoint in the movie. Like Sam Wilson's position with Isaiah Bradley, I think doesn't get highlighted enough. It is beautiful. It hits the heartstrings. Even seeing them train a little bit and know that they've been training, it really sat well with me, and I think it sat well with the audience that I watched it with. It was beautiful. and you really feel for Isaiah when everything goes down. He ends up getting brainwashed by the leader, and so does a couple other people to assassinate Ross, and really kind of set the tone of making Ross, destroying Ross's character as the president, and outing him as the monster that the leader sees him as. And very much so, hearing exactly what happened to the leader after the Incredible Hulk, and how yet he's been helping Ross and keeping him alive with his heart condition, which we've heard a little bit of in the MCU, from Black Widow and all the rest of the of his scenes and his presence in the MCU. This movie really harps on that, and exactly what leads him to getting gamma radiation that leads him to being the Red Hulk. And I felt like that was a good way to make him the Red Hulk, and that point and how they led up to that, and even the secrets behind that, was really what gave it that espionage feel and kind of the mystery of the movie. Like, okay, he's going to become Red Hulk, but when and why? And then when they explained it, it was just like, oh, okay. I'm not mad at that. And there's some emotional elements even with him and Betty, and how he wants to have that, one more walk, or at least another walk through the cherry blossoms, and how they tie that back to the final fight scene with him and Sam Wilson. I thought was a good, no, hey, the sun's getting low, big boy type of moment for him. So I thought that was nice as well. But yeah, the emotional points or bits that happen in this movie, especially with Isaiah, I would say this: you really feel it more if you watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because you would hear his monologue that he has with Sam Wilson about what happened to him and how he was in prison, despite the fact of him being a Captain America and doing right by his soldiers and his fellow brothers in arms, and yet what happened to him. And hit that emotional scene of him saying, I don't want to go back, and then them having that face to face when he's locked up already, and he's just like, you can see the emotional and how emotional he was, the turmoil on his face, him even almost coming to tears. And you really don't get that feeling unless you've seen the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to even know about the relationship. And though the movie does highlight their relationship to a point, it hits a little bit more when you already know the character versus the one line dialogue that kind of breaks down who exactly he is. Which is another point. If you haven't seen that series and you didn't see the Incredible Hulk and you didn't see the Eternals, there's a lot of key elements in this thing that you're not going to know. So the MCU is putting it back on the viewers to do their homework. So a lot of these scenes really hit home because they're really based off of those series and those movies, and they show that smack dab in the middle of the movie. I mean, not the middle, but the beginning of the movie. Outside of that, I love the choreography. I love the fight scenes. I love them showing all the hard work that Sam did to become Captain America, and even the highlighting the fact of his counselor background is what gives him the heart and gives him like the motivation and the outlook of being a guy who really is there for the people. Especially his speech with Ross at the end. And I get it, we're getting to that point now where it gets very CW-ish. You're gonna have your big fight, and then the way the fight ends is with like a nice heartwarming discussion. No, we would like better for the fight scenes to end the way that the old MC used to be. We fight, and I beat you, and that's the lesson. The lesson is don't do this again. But yeah, the movie lean more to that, and it highlights a lot about his counselor background and how he's able to talk to people, how he's able to help people, and how he's able to empathize with a lot of characters throughout the MCU. And it really showed, especially in his scenes with Ross towards the end of the movie. But overall, I thought, not too much that I already spoke about the things I had a problem with, like there was a lot of reshoots that happened with the movie, like Carlos Esposito was not supposed to be Sidewinder, but ended up being Sidewinder, probably because of the test screenings and things like that. I thought he worked out. Once again, kind of sad that this is who he chose to be and in the MCU, because I don't see how his character fits into the overall themes of the next Avenger movie. So basically, this is our last time seeing him in that position, and the next time we see him will probably be in the new MCU, playing something else, hopefully, if he wants to even come back to the MCU, which I don't see why he wouldn't. I felt like dialogue was good. I felt like some of the characters had their glowing moments. I did like the new Falcon. I love his humor. I didn't feel anything negative about him. I will say he is going to need a little bit more training. I feel like he was very cocky at times, but he has a young, Miami spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like he was. I'm ready for anything. I'm ready to go. Like, let's go do this. And that comes with any partner. And you know, you see it all leading up to something, because constantly everybody keeps telling him, especially Sam, like, don't die, don't die. And so there's a part in the movie where you're just like, is he gonna die? Because I'm like, you keep highlighting that, and I don't think you keep bringing up a point like that unless it's gonna happen. And so there's a point in the movie where they're trying to stop the missiles that come from the brainwashing of the fighter pilots on the American side versus, and has them going against the Japan pilots, to try to mix up the Accords, which is really wasn't the whole point, because the whole point was the leader trying to get Ross furious and agitated to the point that he would transform, and he would do everything that he did at the White House over there overseas, but in front of the Japanese and anybody else who was there to watch. So it's interesting how that plan didn't work out, but it still worked out at the White House. But yeah, trying to stop a missile, he stops one, he doesn't stop the other one, and when it blows up, he gets caught in the aftermath. And that's the point where I was just like, dang, bro, they're gonna take him out. And in his first movie, that's crazy. But nah, he ends up living and kind of gets recruited into the Avengers from Sam, like letting them know, the type of techniques that he keeps asking him, like, hey man, you gotta show me this stuff. I thought that was cool. I love their relationship with each other, and that worked out. I will say one of the things that was kind of like, and I get people probably feel some type of way, was the Black Widow character who was in here, and I wish I could remember her name, the actress, and the character's name, but that's just the point. Like, you almost didn't really need them in the movie, but their role still played out well. It's just, it's like the way that they brought that character into the movie. You could have kept them exactly the same as the comics, but I get it. There was a lot of glaring things that was going on politically outside of the movie that tied to this character even being in the movie, so they had to do what they had to do. And though they still kind of kept her front and center, they still put her in a position where she wasn't like too much of a main character, but she played a pivotal part throughout the movie enough to be considered a main character. I hope that makes sense. But she didn't bother me at all. I just wish she had a little bit more scenes to show, her Black Widow skills. Even though she had like 2 good fight scenes, it was just like, all right, after that, it was just, she was sidelined. And kind of makes sense, looking at the backlash of what that character was gonna be and versus what it is now that people have seen it. So it kind of makes sense. They don't want to put her too much in the front, but they had to push the movie forward in certain areas that I thought that worked out. And then, like I said, the best fight scenes was when, technically to me, when he wasn't in this, when Sam Wilson wasn't even in the suit. I liked the Hulk fight. I liked the Sidewinder fight in the street better. I thought that one really felt like Falcon and the Winter Soldier type of vibe, and I love the position and like the level of anxiety that you felt in that scene, just seeing Sam like do without the suit and go against a guy who's armed and ready and prepared and been set up by the leader to know exactly how to fight Sam. So it was just very interesting. And I love how gritty Sam can get. Like, Cap was that in some parts too, but this one, it was like Sam at sometimes he was just like, don't forget now. I'm not Steve Rogers. I'll stab you. I'll shoot you. I'll make sure you walk away in some pain. And I really like that. Like, he always made it a glaring point to point out, I'm not Steve Rogers. And I think, or at least hope, people walk away from this movie understanding that and just accept and at least take on this change in position of a character in a way that is respectful to the actor, but also respectful towards the character itself and how it's going to move forward into the MCU. Because the way they set it up, he's going to be the leader of the Avengers. And I have no problem with it because they set it up perfectly for him. And like I said, even with the leaders post-credit scene that comes at the very end of the movie, the last, at the end of the end credits, I would say you could wait until YouTube comes out with the scene, because waiting that long to see that post-credit scene isn't worth it. But the setup is nice. He sets up basically, which I still don't understand how he would know that, but I guess because of his higher intellect, he can see that far ahead, that technically he was telling them Secret Wars are going to happen. And I think one thing that's going to go over a lot of people's heads is the fact that he says that he's going to fight other heroes. So they're sticking. So it sounds like they're going to stick true to the Secret Wars comic plot, that it's going to be heroes versus heroes fighting for their universes. So the fact that he kept highlighting the fact it's going to be heroes, you think you're the only heroes fighting for your world and your universe, is going to be a key point. So it'll be interesting to see which heroes he's talking about, because there's been this theory that it's going to be the evil versions of all our favorite heroes. But if it's going to be actually good heroes and other heroes like X-Men and stuff like that, that's going to be interesting to see moving forward. So yeah, that's just my position on the movie and what I thought about it. Overall, I like the setup for Secret Wars at the end with the post-credit scene. I think that's going to be something to see how that turns out and which heroes that they're going to be ended up fighting against. But it, where I would rank this at, this is one of the better MCU movies to come out post Endgame. Not the best, but one of the best. It still has its issues, still has some things that they need to work on. They really need to get away from doing reshoots that end up altering the entire movie, because those were way too glaring and way too noticeable, especially with green screens and things like that. But outside of that, it was overall nice. And then also the Captain America and Hulk fight, I thought it was good. I like seeing Sam struggle, but also use his wits about fighting the Hulk. And I liked how we finally got an angry Hulk on screen. That was a pleasure to see as well too. But overall, I mean, there's not too much to say about the movie. I don't think there was too much more that I want to speak on spoiler wise, because I really want you guys to go see this movie. I think it's a good movie. I think it's worth watching. Giving you a play-by-play of the movie is not worth it, but some key points that I wanted to talk about. So thank you for watching. You guys take care, and hopefully you guys enjoy the movie when you see it.